3-0.
It's a good sound behind me. It's the Mediterranean. We're here in Antalya, Turkey. When Paul finished up his first missionary journey, they sailed right out of this port somewhere around here, back up to Antioch. And it was from Antioch that 25-year-old American Kayla Mueller crossed the border into Syria in 2014 to assist Doctors Without Borders in a refugee crisis. She ended up being kidnapped, held hostage, and several months later killed, having never abandoned her faith.
I am in solidarity with the Syrian people.
In her last letter to her parents, she wrote,
I've come to a place and experience where in every sense of the word, I've surrendered myself to our Creator because literally there was no else, and by God and by your prayers, I felt tenderly cradled in free fall.
This is strength in weakness. It was Paul, while in Turkey, who said, when I am weak, then I am strong, because he just heard the Lord say, my power is made perfect in weakness. Now, someone might argue that a young woman shouldn't put herself in harm's way and that Kayla Mueller's story should serve as a cautionary tale, but they would be assuming young people operate on their own strength. Listen, as long as we live in a world with refugees, you can count on people like Talia Bultima to pick up right where Kayla Mueller left off. And does this young lady who recently spent her summer not at home in beautiful Antalya, but working at Moria refugee camp sound like somebody relying on herself?
Mostly Afghans and Syrians, but there are actually 40 different countries represented, or nations represented by the refugees in that camp. So imagine that at least 40 different nations in this reachable area are giving people reason to leave, to flee for their lives. But the thing is that when we are at 6.5 times capacity, the resources that we have are also very, very limited. And so I would mostly spend the day saying, I'm sorry, but we can't do anything to help you right now. And it would be mostly people asking for different housing. Because we had to start housing people in tents, on dirt, which quickly turns to mud the moment it rains, and they get a lot of downpours on this island. And because there is such immense suffering, it's such a high concentration of vulnerable people, our priority list can only have the most vulnerable people. So only if you're over 8 months pregnant would we consider moving you. Only if your baby was under a month old could we consider moving you, just because it is such a high concentration of vulnerable people.
A pregnant woman is one of the most defenseless humans on the face of the earth. Abigail Dodds wrote this article of encouragement to women for the Gospel Coalition. Think of the massive strength and endurance it takes to give birth, yet it is simultaneously a vulnerable type of vigor. A woman in a marathon labor of countless hours afterwards sits up in bed, even as her body begins to hemorrhage, trying to feed and care for another person. In a woman resides exquisite beauties, abilities, and feminine strengths, like the beautiful strength of thick, beveled glass. Or as one Turkish rug manufacturer might say, the mysterious strength of silk.
Do you know what these are? Cocoons. Cocoons, yes. That's where the silk comes from. Each one is about 1 mile of silk. That's a worm. Okay. And if you do touch the cocoon, you can feel it is hard. This means we cannot take the silk from it. What we have to do here, as you can see in the hot water, we have to boil them for about 2 to 3 hours. When they've been boiled, they'll become soft like beans. And then with this wood brush, we will start to tap them. That way we find connections so we can start to pull the silk out of the cocoons. Like this. You see how many strands? Yes. Some people think that silk is weak, but silk is the strongest natural fiber on earth. In the very old days, they used to cut marble with silk. That's how strong it is.
Oh my gosh.
For you to know.
And the only way that I found any comfort in that position was knowing that my God and our God was there, hearing every conversation, seeing every pleading face, looking at every medical document that outlined immense suffering, that we would have to look through to see if we could do anything for them. And then he would also go back with them to their tent.
Mm-hmm.